Heyo! Welcome to the Industry Idiots podcast. Turns out you're listening to last week's episode, and you can listen to today's episode if you head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/industryidiots. For supporting, you'll get it a week early and access to one Patreon exclusive episode each month. Either way, thank you and enjoy this episode. Bye!
Hello, new episode.
Hi, I'm Sam and this is Sven, and today with us we have Roberto Padron from Ubisoft Barcelona. Hi!
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's so great that you're here, man. So awesome. I hope I didn't butcher your name. I know the German pronunciation. It's not that easy. But do you wanna say a few words about who you are, maybe?
Sure. Well, as you said, I'm Roberto. I'm going to avoid to tell my last name. Roberto is fine. And I'm a junior right now. I'm junior level designer at Ubisoft Barcelona. And well, in general, I have around 3 years of experience working specifically at level design. And yeah, my life has been always playing games and try to understand their nature.
That sounds like the dream lifestyle, to be honest, and also very similar to our lifestyle. How did you feel like the news of Unreal Engine releasing affected you? Are you hyped for this?
As a new engine, for me, it was like super impressive. Like the show, everything what they show was super impressive. The technology, all the new stuff that they developed to make the visual side get to a new level. And I guess that from art side, the thing that they don't have to care much about polishing in terms of art, that is I will say that it's a huge improve for them. But in terms of there's always a but.
There's always a but, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of games, um, I don't see any improvement in like games. Better tool doesn't make better games.
Oh,
That's like the conception that I have. So you can have the better tool possible to make a game, but you have the tool you need to make the game, and that's where design starts, right?
mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm seeing here. What I'm saying is it's a huge improvement for art side, I would say, and for game development in general, even pipeline processes and so on for art and even for programming, maybe for maybe a technical art side. But as games, there's always this problem of, well, it's a better tool, but can we make better games with it? Maybe yes, maybe not.
I'm surprised to hear that you share my opinion like 100%. Of course, I'm surprised, and the technical prowess they're showing, right, with the no more normal maps and no more polygons, which is
crazy.
I don't know how this is going to work yet, but you can have the most beautiful engine available. You still need to somehow pinpoint the fun, right? You still need to somehow concept an awesome game behind all that beautiful scenery.
Yeah, I agree in that. And also in history, we can see that every time that a new engine or a new tool appeared that affects games somehow, the very first games has been, let's say, a bit low in terms of gameplay experience because they wanted to show a lot the technology and how powerful the technology has come.
Like a showcase.
Yeah,
more like a showcase for the tech instead of being the game it should be.
exactly. They focus more on the tech and the power of the tech and less on how players going to enjoy your game. That sometimes games lose the fun side, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And but well, I hope with this engine doesn't happen and people stay focused on, okay, this is a new tool, let's try to take an advantage of it, but focusing on we need to still make a game.
Sven has used for his blockouts a lot of Source Engine before. Have you used Unreal for your blockouts, or what was your way to go to build your first level prototypes?
My first level prototypes have been in Unity first. Because Unity was the first engine that I touched on the uni.
Mm.
When I was working on Unity, I was like, well, it's good, but I need something more from my side because I'm not very technical. And for do any interaction on Unity, you have to script in C#. And I'm really bad at scripting. So I needed to move to something more user friendly for me. And I moved to Unreal Engine. And with the visual scripting, the blueprint scripting they have, it really helped me a lot to make my own technical implementations. And actually, I gotta say that thanks to blueprint scripting, I end up having this programming mind that you need to have. It's not only the way of scripting stuff, but how script has to be done, like the flow of the script, the how you call to other blueprints and so on, how to call in this case to other scripts and so on. It really helped me a lot visually to understand the programming mind and how the workflow from scripts works. And yeah, right now I'm most focused on working on Unreal Engine 4 because yeah, as it's more user friendly and has a lot of features already inside, like in the basic package,
Mm.
helps you out to start any prototype super quick and super easy to do. Right now, I'm working on a prototype for myself that I've done in 10 days. Is I'm doing a blockout for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, a bandit camp. And this is something that I wanted to do from a long time because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter making blockouts, for example, for The Last of Us 2, and
Mhm.
they're awesome. They're achieving a lot of stuff, working and sharing with the community, and super awesome the blockouts they do. But let's say let's say I would say that it's the easy mode. Why? Because in Unreal you already have lots of generic pieces that you can use and build up a level super easy. And the fact of doing Horizon Zero Dawn for me is a challenge because everything related with the world of Horizon Zero Dawn is something exclusively new and only related for that world. You're never gonna find something on the marketplace of Unreal Engine that is any, let's say, prototype or mesh or anything, right? That could get similar to that. You need to build it yourself, and that's a plus. That's a challenge, another level of challenge. Not only designing a bandit camp for Horizon, but also you need those pieces. You need to find a way to make them, and for that, I'm pushing myself to learn using Maya.
Actually, we just swapped from Maya to Blender in our studio, but Maya is a good program to use for sure.
Yeah, so now I'm switching between those two, Unreal Engine and Maya, to make my own pieces and bringing them to Unreal, setting the scale. And I gotta say that it was really challenging because I didn't use any modeling tool before, and it really, I feel now that I'm more how would you say, independent in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I need any specific model or piece for my blog art, I can go right straight to Maya and do something. I'm not a 3D modeler or anything, but something that it could get the idea. Because in general, blog art, it's for that. It's to get the sense of what to get the sense of the intentions we want to share. And that's the thing. So I'm working on that, and I really believe Unreal is somehow the future for these kind of games, open world games with a really
with hub zones that are engaging for the player. Sven, you had a question?
It's always so cool to see people trying to like broaden their knowledge in different types of tools and then trying to like combine most of the tools into one very independent project. And if you have something like that in your portfolio, it's like so much more impressive than if you like reuse all the stuff that has been like pushed on a or put on a marketplace before, or if you're reusing that stuff. So if you're building your own level, even with like the blueprint scripting and stuff like that, I personally think that it's like a lot more impressive to pull that off. And I mean, even like the degree you can nowadays do with the blueprint scripting, I think, not sure if it was a rumor or anything, but like the majority of like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was done with blueprints, like 80% of the game code and stuff like that. So at least what I heard.
That is true, yeah.
And it's like so mind-blowing to me that such a huge game can like be built from a like purely non-traditional coding way and still function. And it's so cool.
Well, yeah. But if you remember the old performance of PUBG, then functioning is... They had a few problems with optimization for sure. So I think a proper system architecture would have definitely helped them out there. But to just see a game go off like this, fully made in blueprints, is amazing. It's unbelievable, to be honest. Roberto, hearing you talk about a lot about your passion for level design and making projects come to life, how did you discover that passion in the first place? Like, what inspired you to become a level designer?
At the beginning, as I was having my design degree, in the university, they teach you the basics. They teach you very generic game design generic game designer that you touch all the specializations a little bit. And it wasn't until I started working for an indie studio in Madrid that it was called DNA Softworks, that they were looking for a game designer. And I applied for a job, interviewed, so on. They hired me, and it was the project was indie action platformer game, and the project was growing so big that in the design department we needed to specialize, because the project was getting out of our control, and we needed people to specialize. Okay, you're going to be in charge of combat pod, you're going to be in charge of the UI menus and the UI flow and so on, and you're going to be in charge of level design. So what we did there was like classic meeting, trying to check which one of us was the best in which specialization, right? And we all agreed that I was the best one at that moment for level design. And taking that responsibility and doing the levels by myself, I discovered like, okay, so this is my thing. This is what I like. Is level design. Is I didn't know before, but now I know it, and I was fully focused on that. And we released the game for PlayStation 4, exclusive for PlayStation 4. It was something really cool that studio could achieve. It was a really small studio, a studio of 5 people, 6 people, something like that, and with help from outside. In Spain, there's PlayStation Awards for students, and they got the best art award and so on. And because of that, the PlayStation Spain allowed the studio to keep doing their prototype for a full game and launch it specifically for PlayStation. So it was
cool.
A really good opportunity. Yeah, imagine as when you're a student, and you have that opportunity to, one of the first games you do is an indie with your classmates and
backed by Sony. Crazy.
And have that released in a at least polished capacity, and have that out there to show and for people to play it. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The game is now out. People can play it. I don't know how many downloads it has. I really am pretty sure that people is hating it, but it was my first game. And sometimes first things you do is not as good as you imagine, but you get better. You're getting better through time.
We have all done our fair share of prototypes that we look back upon, realizing that our skill has greatly heightened now.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's also aligning perfectly with that one image you posted earlier with like, if you want to get better at something, you just do it and practice it more. And like, if you want to get better at level design, then build levels, of course. And I had a good laugh when you posted, because so relatable.
When I posted that meme, I was actually thinking about myself. Like, if you want to do something, you just go and do it. Smash your head on the table, on the keyboard, like, why it's not working, try to figure it out how to fix it, and little by little, baby steps, getting better. and it's how the way it is. Well, it's not only that; it's also something that I believe it's also helpful to improve is this frustration. Also share it with the community, because maybe the community can help you out, and you can receive feedback and knowledge from the community that can help you out on your designs later on.
That's something that I just discovered recently, that because most industries out there, it's apart from the game industry, when you share your struggles, you're seen as weak, right? But in the games industry, it's like the opposite. You share your struggles, you share your problems, and people engage and help, and they're so eager to help, and it makes them so happy that they can help you, and you receive help, and it makes you better as well. And it's just a very supportive industry. That's what I like very much about our industry.
The community is so open and so humble that you really feel part of everything, even though that you can be in Spain, you can be in Germany, you can be in the United States, wherever you are. That's something that I had to say, or something that I have to thank Twitter for, that, because it makes all the community, makes all these game devs being more close to each other, and that's something really beautiful, I gotta say.
It's much more fun if you like are able to get feedback from like a bigger variety of people, and like share the stuff you worked on with a bunch of people, and also see their stuff, get inspired and get motivated by what they do. And like it's not a feeling of competitiveness I get from that, like much more like in inspiration level. And if you like look at more at the corporate side of things, like most companies in other industries would be much more protective about their like design knowledge, their technology and stuff like that. And then here we are in the games industry, we have the GDC, and people like show their most crazy tech advancement and design philosophies, how they solve problems, and it's so crazy cool.
And you can get specific knowledge. I think there's also something that's super rare in other industries. You can, if you want to get better in your level design at environmental storytelling, or at, I don't know, mechanical interaction to your abilities of the game, you can post your specific parts, and people who are full-time combat designers, who are full-time level designers, technical level designers, they can give you specific input. They are already professionals, maybe have 10, 15 years of experience. They see it on Twitter in just maybe one glance, but that is all that they need to just tell you maybe the right direction for you to focus on to get better. And that's amazing. Do you have a specific hashtag you use a lot on Twitter, or what's your approach?
The hashtag that I use the most is the level design hashtag. It's the classic one.
Relatable.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
The community is just super close knit, right?
Yeah, that's like the top one. From that, you can check everything related with that. And yeah, I've seen a lot of posts of people, not only from professionals, but also from students learning and sharing the blog outs and so on. I've seen so much stuff that is from portfolio students that are impressive. That are impressive. I don't remember the other day that I saw a portfolio that a student was trying to make a blog out inspired by Titanfall 2. And the video was crazy. Like, that's not only about block code, like the level conception itself. It's also about how can I implement the systems behind that to make my level playable
and interactable. Yeah, with the verticality, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not only about I'm doing a level and that's it. It's also the interactions, the systems behind them, AI, enemies, and so on, like UI for getting hit, where it's coming from, and so on. And students are coming right now super strong, and it's amazing. It's amazing. That's why I really like the hashtag level design, because I see all this kind of stuff, and it makes me feel like shit. That's awesome. I want to make something like that, or even better. It's like that's something cool that I believe in the community, that everyone is sharing their stuff, and there's like a positive competition in the way that people are sharing stuff and it's inspiring each other, and they want to do maybe stuff that is in the same level or even higher, so we can still getting feedback and do more stuff that is cool to do. And that's something that I believe that is super awesome.
And you can ask them how they achieved certain things that you might be, because in art, in the art world, there exists something called art envy that some people have, or a lot of people have, that they are seeing artists who are better than them and that demotivates them. But in turn, what you just said, the knowledge you dropped, that is what should happen, right? People should see people doing better things than they are, and they should be motivated and encouraged to aspire to also become better, right? And be like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I want to do this too. And then you ask the person who did the thing that is amazing for maybe some insight or some ideas or how they did it. And they're more than happy to help in my experience. And that is so cool about the not only hashtag level design community that is out there, but also in the entire games community.
Yeah.
Which feels like is by far the most active one from all like the, aside from the art things, because it's always nice to post fancy models and animations and stuff like that. But like apart from the others, I'm not sure if you can share as much cool programming stuff on Twitter because it's not a visual thing. And of course, then for sure the discussions about that are, I'd guess, much less than for something where you can share something visual. So
yeah, of course. In terms of technical, what you can share is maybe the result of all the work and the process. And maybe if someone is more interested, then they can start chatting about the proper specific coding or how they did it. But it's true though that when you're getting to that kind of detail to know this kind of technical stuff, not too much people is I don't know how to say this. It's like
Can relate or understand even.
exactly how there's not too much people that can understand that. Even me, like working in big studios, sometimes I don't know what programs are doing. I mean, I know the result and I take that result to make games, but that's it.
Or maybe they post in the internal chat, they post the perfectly refactored, beautiful, optimized code, and you look at the code and you're like, yep, this looks like any code. I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I know there's an if and else there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very relatable. All right. Do you have a favorite level of some kind? Like, is there someone you look up to that designs great levels?
Favorite level?
Or a game even?
Well, let's say personally, one of my favorite games are Kingdom Hearts, because as a child, the concept of mixing my favorite Disney characters with this extraordinary Square Enix action game, for me was like a completely boom, like, whoa, what the hell is this? Where did it come from? Like, I have my favorite character, Disney characters here, but then this is strange characters that come from Final Fantasy also, that they are mixed, and they're telling me a super cool story about this, and I would say that's my favorite game personally, like I'm here hiding in my heart. But in a professional aspect, one of my favorite games has been Metal Gear Solid.
Understandable.
Yeah, Metal Gear, well, one of many. You know, I really can't say my top, my favorite one, because the good thing that I would say is they're not the same thing. They're different. They have special things that make them unique. And I can say that I love them a lot, but I can't say it's my favorite one. You know, it's like it's the unique and it's the best one. It's not, because it's different. You know, cannot compare, apples with pears. You know, it's like it's totally different stuff. They have their unique stuff. And for me, it would be, for example, Dishonored as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
Are they inspiring your levels as well? Like, because Dishonored is very well known for their insane levels, right?
Yes, totally. Dishonored is the way they craft their maps is crazy. It's crazy. It's like blow mind.
It's super intertwined.
The Clockwork Mansion.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
that one is insane.
Yeah, that level for me was, all right, I'm a loser. I need to do something to stop being a loser, because these guys are, I don't know how they do it, what they eat, but these guys, crazy. And yeah, and my head was like blown up, like seeing like, oh, it was fun because at the first step into the mansion, it was like, okay, this mansion, classic mansion with enemies, so and stuff. But then mansion starts to break and change, and you can be inside of the walls, and there's another different level, and you're like, what? I can build my own level, or I can build my own game space inside all of this because I changed the rooms and the walls. And it's like, fuck me, these guys. Like I said, I've never been in contact with some of them from Arcane, but I probably sure that building that level has to be like a nightmare. But they did it. They achieved it. They achieved their goal to create that masterpiece.
And they're also super cool on Twitter. I've interacted and chit-chatted to some of them from the studio, and you can definitely hit them up. They're very open about all of this. And Sven, we talked about in the last podcast episode, we talked about the mansion from the first Vampire game that had a lot of linked interactability, that natural guiding where you encounter something and then a noise goes off in another room and that sends you to that room. So the level of just interactability from the level towards the player, right? I feel like this is very similar to what's happening in the mansion, in the Clockwork Mansion, right? You trigger some kind of change in the level in general, and then through that, all the other rooms become more attractive as well and interlinked.
I'd say in those games that like those specific levels have one big difference, and one being like the one in Vampire the Masquerade is much more funneled and designed in a way, and that you don't have as much choice as how to traverse to all the playable space, because you run from like trigger to trigger to trigger, and all the stuff that is scripted is happening in a very designed sequence. And in the Clockwork Mansion, like you are completely in charge of how you want to traverse through that space, and like, okay, I'm in this realm now, move 10 meters forwards, then I switch to the other realm, and the game and the level like has completely, not completely, but like so kind of a different rule set, because like in that level, not to spoil anything for the people who haven't played it, but like the different layers of the level are like different timelines of the same room. Basically, one is in the, let's say, comparably in the 1930s. The other one is like 30 years later, and the third layer is basically even further down the timeline. And of course, over this time, the environment in this place has changed so much, and it's so big potential of like for the artists to do some environmental storytelling and show how the space you are moving through, which is like from a geometry sense very similar, like has now completely different decoration. You have to like reorient yourself, but you are still in this same room, just in a different time, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
We heard some of Roberto's favorite levels. Do you have some favorite levels to share, Sven?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of the Clockwork thing too, but now I have to pick something else.
It's a great level, yeah.
Let's stay with single player games. I was just about to mention one of the multiplayer maps, for example, like Shipment in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is like just that I think about, it's like a revamped version of all the fun maps from Counter-Strike back in the day, like Ice World and stuff. But to stay within single player realms, I'd say something from Mafia probably.
Hey,
not the race level, which was notorious for that game.
Have you played a lot of, before Sven continues, have you played a lot of Mafia, Roberto?
Yeah, I play the Mafia 2 and 3.
Okay, so we are both initiated on what... Okay, sorry, Sven, continue.
Yeah, there was this... I think the cool thing about Mafia is that it's completely fulfilling on your like Goodfellas gangster fantasy, and that in a GTA setting, basically, from how you control the game. And there was this one mission where you were staging this goods deal in like a parking lot, and this exchange of goods against money and stuff like goes horribly wrong. There are like mobsters coming and hijacking this mission, and then everything goes to shit, and it turns into a car chase, and then you have to dump the car and stuff like that. It's like so many steps in this level that are completely different from how you play them. First, you have to like escort the goods to that parking lot without it being destroyed or without damaging the car. Then you park it, and then the deal happens. Everything goes to shit. The car chase and stuff, and so much in this chain of events that's different from like the activity you do. As you can hear how hyped I am about the game, and that is getting a remake. So yeah, that's one of my favorite levels.
Have you seen the remake announcement as well, Roberto?
Yeah, I saw the announcement, and I'm really hyped for that because I also am a huge fan of the game, and I can't wait to put my hands on it.
The entire trilogy, or just one of the three?
If I had to put like a top 3, I will probably say the Mafia 2 is my favorite one, then the 3, and then the 1.
Okay, that sounds good. They're releasing the first one first, right? So they're gonna release 2nd and 3 in the trilogy pack, I think, as far as I'm informed, but could be wrong.
Oh, it's that way. It's gonna be by separate. It's not gonna be packed at one.
There is going to be a trilogy pack, but as far as I know, they released the first one earlier than the others. Sven, do you know anything more than me?
Yes, I think sometime August, the first one, and then sometime down the line, the second one, which they haven't announced as a standalone remake yet, but it's very likely that it's going to happen.
Something to look forward to. Speaking of which, have you seen the Ubisoft Forward announcement?
Yeah.
I have seen.
Well, Roberto has probably seen it, being part of Ubisoft.
Yeah, well.
Can you tell us something about it?
Nothing.
Okay, but all we know is the Twitter announcement they just put out, which is a fully digital showcase, right, with exclusive games. So it's a little bit like a little E3 thing.
The funny thing is that you have the same knowledge as me.
Ah,
that's good.
So are you hyped for this at all? Do you think this is cool?
Yeah, I totally believe that it's super cool. It's I guess it's a way to substitute the E3, right?
Yeah.
So with this, Ubisoft still has the chance, as every year, to do the Ubi showdown of games and premieres and so on.
And I think that's also what the people need right now. It's like the world and the life is so a little bit depressing because of the whole COVID pandemic thing, that having these positive events that are just there to, celebrate games, celebrate what Ubisoft and what you guys are putting out there, right? You're putting your hard work and life and joy into these games. So you want people to be able to enjoy the games as well and even get hyped for them. I think it's wonderful that they find a way to do this even without E3.
Yeah, I believe that this is, and even more in the times we are now, it's even more important because it makes us believe that, all right, there's something cool is going to happen next week. So let's keep doing, let's keep
going.
Exactly. Let's keep going. Let's keep pushing because next week we have this event, and maybe tomorrow is the other event. For example, today's event is the one of Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm super excited about that.
Oh yeah,
I'm
looks
super
amazing.
excited about that game as well. So yeah, I believe these kind of events are helpful in a way that keeps people active, keeps people moving forward, and expecting the future for better times.
And then looking forward to the future, right? And being happy about the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good take on the entire Game Fest and Ubisoft Forward thing. Sven, yes?
Yeah, now that you mentioned Ghost of Tsushima, Sam and I talked about it earlier on, like, I think 3 episodes ago or 4 episodes ago. There was this one post they were using for marketing that there will be like no fast travel or anything in Ghost of Tsushima. And I imagine, as this is going to be an open world thing as well, that it's like a whole nother challenge to design the world in a way that you are not permitting the player to like skip between the hubs, let's say it that way. And that you have to provide like some orientation in every piece of the map and not only like for certain areas, so people don't get lost and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that would be really huge collaboration between the specializations of world design and level design, because if you want to delete these kind of elements to guide the player and you want to focus put on all of this, then landmarks needs to be clear, and not also clear but unique in a way, so the player understands where he is. Because if he sees he's on the right and he sees I don't know, characteristic castle, he will say, all right, I'm nearly the coast or something like that, so I have at the right I have the land of whatever, and I believe that like it's gonna be. Is it possible? It's gonna be possible. I'm pretty sure they're gonna achieve that goal, but it's gonna be hard, or it's been hard for world designers and level designers to work each other to achieve this goal.
Multiple landmarks, right? Like that players say, because in Berlin there's this huge tower that is in the middle of Berlin, but one landmark isn't enough to orient yourself perfectly with, or triangulate your position somehow in the back of your mind. So I think it's what you're saying is very important, that they figure out a system of landmarks to guide the player even on greater distances.
I was just asking if you are like trying to take these like mindful approach for your personal blockout as well. Like how big is the stuff you mentioned earlier that you're doing as a personal project right now? Like the bandit camp thing. Is it even open world?
Well, I'm trying to copy bandit camp of Horizon Zero Dawn. So this is a super cool thing that I always want to do, and I also suggest this kind of activities to anyone who wants to get better on level design, because it's a really good activity to try to copy a level from existing game, because as the game is already exists, is there, the rules of the game are there, and you cannot get out of the rules of there. What I'm saying with this is I see a lot of times lots of students' portfolio with their own invented levels that sometimes you cannot evaluate correctly, or not in the best way possible, because as that prototype is in a world that you are inventing, I cannot judge something that is of your creation. What I can do is maybe evaluate how the quality of the technical implementation or the metrics you're using. But if you want to have a castle that is 300 meters, and I believe that it's crazy, but in your world it fits, then what can I say? So I think that is a really good practice to try to copy levels from existing games that you have these constraints and you cannot get out of there. And as Horizon Zero Dawn has a lot of constraints in this way, bandit camps need to be approachable from a 360 idea or design. Like player can reach the bandit camp from any each direction, so you need to design the camp in a way that is attractive from any each direction. Considering also this, then the influence area, that it's something, I don't know if it's like that. I don't know the name if it's like that. What I'm saying with influence area is like once you're getting the approach into the area, it's getting more dangerous. So there's like different levels of dangerousness. The more you get into the bandit camp, so it's really important to define well to the player the boundaries of the bandit camp, to define perfectly when is their side and when is your side, and even in your side outside the bandit camp, they can maybe catch you because they can see you. So there's also this area you need to be sure that it's clear for the player in a way. And they've really done this. They really do this. Guerrilla Games, they really do this really good. Every time you're going to enter an bandit camp, they're sure that around the boundaries of the area is a clean area with not too much elements around, so the player can see like a buffer between the proper bandit camp and the safe zone, safe area where the enemies cannot see you. And in that buffer is where the enemies, the AI can see you from the watchtowers and so on. They can shoot you and so on. And yeah, I'm building everything around on that concept. Nothing like, I'm not inventing anything new. I'm just trying to copy as much as I can and trying to get into myself their design principles to do these bandit camps and try to copy it well as possible.
you're also demonstrating with that you have the ability to follow design guidelines and follow design pillars, especially for the people out there who are looking to build their portfolios, right? If you copy or do a study or whatever of an existing level, or maybe for an existing world, your own version of that level, you're demonstrating that you're able to follow the game's design guidelines and rules, and you're not just inventing your own stuff, so you don't have to deal with this. So this is a really great advice, I think. And Sven, weren't you talking in one of the last episodes about these layers of these rings when you're designing a level?
Oh yeah, I think that's exactly what Roberto's also like going for. Like, I think this was also the where I got it from, was like a GDC talk from like 4 or 5 years ago, also from a designer from, I think, Ubisoft Montreal. And he was also specifically talking about one of the earlier Assassin's Creed, that you have this zoning approach of spiraling dangerousness the closer you come to the target, which I think is on one hand kind of similar to Hitman, but on the other hand, it is not as similar to Hitman, because in Hitman you always have like this disguises, and then a dangerous zone becomes a safe zone when you have the right disguise. And that is something that, like, at least the Assassin's Creed games I've played haven't offered yet. But yeah, I'm a total sucker for these types of game. Hitman, Assassin's Creed, everything concerning with stealth, even Metal Gear Solid, great games.
Roberto, did you use this approach for your for getting into Ubisoft as well? How did you build your portfolio, and how did you even get in?
My portfolio, I've been building it at the same time that I was working, I would say, doing my internships and so on. Everything that I could do, I would put it on my portfolio. Everything that I learned on Twitter, I tried to put it on practice by myself and tried to build a portfolio from that. And yeah, for getting at Ubisoft, what I did was just to it's kind of funny thing, because Ubisoft Barcelona they weren't looking for a junior level designer, but the moment, well, I was just contacted the recruiter guy here and send them email like, hey, if you're looking for something, I'm here, this is my portfolio, my CV and so on, my resume and so on. And well, they offered me the chance to at least show them what I'm capable of. And well, classic thing, like interviews, some tests showing levels, and they ask you about something and you do some level, and then you get the offer and so on. So but even though during the process I was still doing my blockouts and stuff, lots of them I lose them because my computer broke. And I lose all my levels. The ones that I have on my portfolio is the ones that I really have, the only one that I could save. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
But you made it.
Like the meme on Twitter. If you want to get better at level design, just do levels. Like nothing more special, you know. It's like go put your hands on it.
It also becomes pretty addicting to do these kinds of blockouts. I know back in like 3 years ago when I was doing an internship for another company as well, and I moved between cities and I couldn't take my computer with me. I got a laptop, like a shitty one, like 400 euros, 500 euros, that could barely run any engine. But I still wanted to make that to have at least in some capacity, be able to build something. So it's very cool that you keep on doing that, even though there are maybe some technical difficulties in the way.
Yeah, that's always going to happen, even when you're working on the industry or working on a real project. If you're working on games and you're somehow not expecting everything to fail, then quit. Work on something else, because games are crashing all the time and stuff get broken and everything fails until you polish it and see that it finally works. And I believe that that's one of the best moments, that when everything blends together, art, QA, programming, design, all the efforts from everyone blend together to deliver a result, and that result is something solid, something beautiful, and something fun to play.
Would you, now that you mention it in a way, like everything coming together, and everyone always says like it's the responsibility of the level designer to make everyone else shine, because you are the one putting everyone together in that one level and integrating a lot of stuff and trying to, with your design, showcase and elevate like the different gameplay systems. Do you think that puts another layer of pressure on if you're thinking all the time, oh, hopefully my design is well enough to support everything that everyone else has done and stuff?
It's true though. Like it puts like an extra layer of pressure. Like, okay, I have to take all the work from everyone and put it on a blank canvas and try to build something that can be memorable. And but it's not that stressful because most of the levels that I've been doing through in my entire career, maybe half of them has been by the help of the other members of the team, because artists can come to you and say, I have a cool idea for this. Well, what if we take this approach, or programmers even, or other level designers that can help you out with your level and say, hey, why if you do this instead of this? And that's when iterating process starts. Like when you have a better idea and try it, you see that it works and it's amazing, and it feels good to play. That the gameplay experience is even having a better quality. So I believe though that I'm the one as level designer that is the guy who moved the mouse to do this stuff, but the levels are made by everyone, not only by the level designer. I believe that's more the philosophy, because in the end, if I would do the level by myself, probably would be totally different without the feedback of the art guys, the creative director, my lead designer, my programmer teammates. Everyone can come to you, and that's I believe that makes the level better, because you have the feedback from everyone. Not only like I'm the only one and that's it, and I'm the only one who can do the level and that's it.
Apart from the peer reviewing, you mentioned that your peers are looking over your work sometimes and giving input, or you give them input. Do you feel like your day to day from before you joined a AAA studio has changed in some way? What does your day to day in level design look like?
My day to day in level design is when I started working at AAA games, it's more about the processes, not about the nature of it, of making games. I guess that the nature of making games is the same in any market, would say market related with AAA, mobile, right? VR, indie. But I guess that depending on which of it, like the processes are different. And working at Ubisoft, that you're working on studio with other studios around the world, the process, you need to have a strict process to get the work of everyone around the world and put it up together and make it work. So I would say that the difference from, for example, the previous studio I was working on from this one is that the process is slower because of the let's say the how because of the how big the project is, and because we need to take control of all the content that's working around the studios.
And the just generally working together with studios all over the world, I imagine like moving file sizes of the repo sizes that you are building and moving around is probably not always the fastest way, especially if there's if there's a pandemic going on and all the internet lines are overcharged.
Oh yeah, now everyone has to pull their stuff and work from home with all the repositories.
Yeah.
How has working from home affected you anyway? Has it even?
It didn't actually affect me directly, like on my work, but it did affect me personally, because I believe that collaboration it's better done when you're close to your teammates, and you can reach everyone really quick and easy and human, let's say, in a human way, that you can approach to someone and talk to them, and maybe you're not talking about something related with the project, but it you can interact with other humans.
Yeah, a little pat on the shoulder.
It's the same feeling in the sports team, this locker room thing, having this team spirit that of course kind of gets lost when everyone is like disconnected from each other and only sitting at home, and you can't have like neighbors on your bench and motivate each other and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not saying that it's impossible to do. It is possible. Now, thanks with the technology we have, we can achieve this, that entire Ubisoft is working remotely. And this is amazing. But personally, I believe that it's better in the end. You want to do games that inspire and can get people passionate about. And to achieve that, you need to be passionate, but also be passionate together. So you can
Mhm.
work with your team and say, hey, I have this idea, and the other said, oh, it's a super cool idea, why we just try to prototype it here quick, and so on. And then the artist came in and say, oh, I have something that I can show you guys, come to my desk. And we start, with this magic moment of working each other in the same building, the same space, and building something cool, instead of like, hey, I have something, and go to the chat, hey, I have something, or wait until they can answer you. And
And you get some like emoticons or some response, and it's even apart from just imagining those magic moments, or going through those magic moments with other people who are saying, hey, come over here, look at my stuff. It's also validation for yourself, right? If you're building something cool and you show it off to your peers, and they're equally passionate and hyped about what you are doing, that also gives you personally a boost to continue and to
Mhm.
push harder and go forward with your work.
Yeah. Uh, Again, this still is happening
Mhm.
with the remote work, but it feels different. Is I would say that is less quality, but it's different. It's in a different way. It's more slow. When you want to show something to someone, you need to somehow to pick him up and wait until he can answer you. And if it's something big that you want to show, then you need to request a meeting to be ready for everyone, and so on, so everyone can be sure that they are on the same page.
Sounds to me that when everyone is in the office, basically, like that you can be as a team much faster than when working from home, of course. And when you're grabbing something and walking to his desk, and everyone is walking around, that way, not in a written form, but it's like a verbal form. Then I imagine a lot of like getting people or keeping other people who are not there in that moment, keeping them in the loop must be like a much bigger challenge. Like that you are not constantly
Yeah.
like trying to write everything down, because when it's like in Slack or in a chat channel somewhere, then you have kind of a documentation of it.
Mhm.
And now that you're like getting people over here to your bench, then you need to make sure basically that everyone knows what's going on. And that must be a much bigger challenge. At least for me, it's the same. I'm doing like a work from home producing for software development thing as well. And it's kind of a new level of challenge to get all the people in the loop if you're not doing a meeting with everyone and write it every time that something changed or something new happens or has been added and stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
What I feel like is also the case from the missing, just generally, you can, if you need a break of your work or something, or you need to get a change of scenery, you can just stand up from your table, walk around the office, and look at other people working what they are working on, and it's just so unintrusive, right? And
Mm.
here you have to sacrifice your own time and your own working time to capture what you're working on, and then you have to share it. And then some people maybe don't like to do these kind of things, just share what they're currently doing, so other people can get a fresh look before their eyes, and then they need to ask if they can see you. It's just a lot of extra hassles that are added from the working from home thing.
Yeah, also psychologically, it's even harder to have the that you we have been forced to put in our home places. That is a place that we usually relax and do fun stuff for us.
Mhm.
The stressful part of work, and even more if you're doing games. From my personal experience, I always want to separate this kind of or this let's say these states of my life, that I really like to have a space for work, and I really like to have a space for being at home and being relaxed and playing games without the thing on my head of working or anything. And that's something that it's really hard to achieve when you're working from home, unless you have an extra room where you can put all psychologically all the work stuff on that room. But I'm not rich, so I have the same space, my work and my relaxing space, and it's weird.
It's something that sounds so minimal on paper, right? But yeah, don't start the programs and everything, but it doesn't leave your mind. It's the same for me. I have so many, like all the work emails that come in of I don't know, law stuff in Germany about managing a company and that kind of stuff. It demotivates me. It's really like a dark cloud over my head. And I wish I could only have this, as you said, in a separate room. And only if I go into that room, I have to think about these kind of things. So I feel you 100%.
Yes, it's safe for me. Also, like the people on the podcast can't see it, but I'm also sitting like in my bedroom basically with my desk, and you're constantly getting distracted all the time because I'm also sitting next to a very driven by street, and a lot of like big city stuff is happening outside, and you really need to. I'm often shutting like the blanks of my window down, and it gets dark like in a cave. Basically, to be able to focus. And then I've also have like the PlayStation next to it, and it's like smiling at me, and you really have to keep yourself away from it. So yeah, it's completely a different challenge psychologically. I agree.
Yeah, I feel you. Right now, I'm living in front of a plaza, so you can imagine from time to time the crowds of people and kids shouting, crying, punching each other, and it's like, please, someone.
We have like 10 more minutes, and I would love to ask you about your other projects you've worked on. Like I saw one specifically is SpongeBob. Were you involved in the new SpongeBob remake?
I was involved on that project. Sure, it was at Parperlam Studios, Parperlam Games or Studios. I don't remember quite well now. It was last year. And yeah, I could hire they were looking for a level designer. Then I applied for it, and in the end, I was doing game level design. But as SpongeBob is a remaster, there wasn't really level design on that. It was more about technical part. It was more about implementing and bringing the old pieces into the new perspective of how we make games right now. It was more like a technical level designer or technical game designer to how to use Unreal Engine to implement all of that. And to say that was fun project.
Awesome. Would you be able to elaborate a little bit? We constantly have discussions or trying to find out what the difference is, but would you be able to elaborate a bit on the difference between a normal level designer and a technical level designer?
I would say that the normal level designer is the one who is in charge of the proper design of the level. That you are doing something from scratch, from nothing, and you have to bring up to the table a new idea. And I believe that the technical part, the technical level designer, is the one who needs to create the systems behind of it, so to make the level work, to make the level playable. Let's say. And as in SpongeBob, as the game was already made in the past, we weren't allowed to change the levels. So what we had to do was break the levels and make the technical implementations and improve everything that is related to design, 3Cs, movement, level interactions or level navigation, collisions, of course, graphics, and so on.
While still capturing that old spirit, right, of the original game.
Exactly. It's like we can't we couldn't change any. We weren't allowed to change anything. It was more about bringing to the new ways of play the old spirit.
Modernizing the feel, basically, right?
Exactly, modernizing the feel. Exactly, that's the precise word.
Also super achieved in like the Resident Evil remakes. I'm not sure if you guys have played both. I know that Sam is pretty hyped about the second one, but hasn't managed to play it yet. And like if you when you played the old one and then played the new one, like seeing that police station being like almost one by one replicated, but with the modern tech, was very mind blowing. Super cool.
Yeah. It's super crazy. Also, that is a remake. right? Like so far as I know,
Mhm.
the Resident Evil games are remakes, so parts of the story and the levels has been changed.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the things have been changed to fit with the modern ways.
Yeah. New camera.
Which is inherently a good thing, right? I mean, player experience has changed, what people expect from gameplay has changed, and even if you're reviving an old classic, you have to do at least some form of making it fit for the new crowd of players. I mean, still
Mm.
keep the old, don't do something completely known. The people are going to hate you for it, but also don't just clone it. Then the people are going to be. It's a very fine line, and I hope that the new. I don't know if you've seen them, but the new Tony Hawk games. I hope they capture this magic of the old
Mm.
skating games as
Yeah.
well with adding new tech.
It's very risky when you're doing a remake. And for classic games, for example, what happened with Final Fantasy, there was a lot of people that was against that idea of remaking Final Fantasy because this was their childhood game, and it's risky. Like if you wanna make that kind of project, you really need to be ready to make it better. If you fail on that, you're gonna make the people really angry about it, and
Gonna make a lot of enemies. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And it's I believe that it's like a brave step to make this kind of stuff for classic games.
Reviving old
But
classics.
But aren't they like in the Final Fantasy remake providing like both abilities to play the game kind of the old way with like this turn-based combat, but also introducing like if you want to doing it in playing the combat in real time?
Yes, I know that there's this possibility to play more or less like the old way, like turn-based game. But I really, honestly, I haven't tried that. I just try the modern way that Tetsuya Nomura wants us to experience. And I had to say that for me, it was like a blow mind game, like super amazing. The level design of that game, it's also super amazing as well.
What did you like specifically about the level design? Any aspect that shines out for you?
Yeah, I would say of Final Fantasy VII remake, the level design it's not something crazy. It's actually really straightforward. It's a linear, more or less a linear game. It's really straightforward. But what is really impressed me is how they craft levels that feels alive. Every time you're playing around Midgard, all the level feel that is really alive. It's not something that I haven't seen in a while in many games. Let's say linear games, right? Where you're on a game for the first time you get inside of the level, you get the feeling of it. Yeah, it's cool, it's fun. You're playing around, but then after an hour in the same level, if you just stand there, and the level gets super blank and empty. But
Yeah.
in this game, that doesn't happen. Like you can spend lots of time like just traveling around Midgar, and the levels feel so alive with the NPCs with their own little stories. They are talking between each other, and some kids are running to another spot and they find a cat and they get super happy, and all this feeling about there's life in this on these levels. It's not about the complexity. I would say that their achievement was more about the feeling of Midgar is alive, and the level that the achievement of I would like to live here. Like this is an impressive place to be. The people is so humble and like happy, even though they are in the scramble place, like garbage place or something like that. In the Sector 7 place of Midgar, they are happy, they're doing stuff, it feels super alive, and that's I believe that that's a super amazing achievement that you want to stay there for a long time, not just to do the mission and that's it.
It's a very good demonstration of not an official term, but active environmental storytelling. Passive, I would define something like Dark Souls, right? Or some of the Uncharted levels where you find objects or dead people or something inanimate, and it
Mm.
tells you something that happened here before, like someone died or suicide or whatever. And then you have active environmental storytelling, which is you overhearing living things. like people conversing with each other, or someone, as you said, finding something, or a cat, or and this is, I think this is really a great way to make spaces feel breathing and alive. It's a good idea to. Okay, we can't talk about Assassin's Creed, so I'm not going to ask that question. Moving on, Sven, do you have another question?
You were tempted. I could see that.
I was tempted. Do you have a final question for the end of our episode and hangout with Roberto?
Maybe not so much a question, but more like a commentary on the previous one. I also like read a blog earlier today that that there are more types of immersion possible within a game, not like the narrative immersion. Like there's the systemic immersion, that all the systems don't break basically and align with what you try to do all the time. Then the spatial immersion, that like the environments you are traversing in are believable in a fashion. Then there's, what's the third one? I can't remember it actually. But the fourth one was also like sequential and narrative immersion, that the pacing of the overall stuff you like live through basically, and experiences, that this is also like not pulling you out of the experience, but like the pacing, the beats, and the levels that follow up on each other in a sequence basically also provide to your immersive feeling basically. And like that you can look at this Midgard area and Midgard levels and everything that's in there, like the systems, the space of the environment, and everything that's like from an active role or passive role, that everything comes together and creates this basically grand illusion of that being a real place. And that's so fascinating to see that works.
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree with you with that. Like level, the bits and the pacing of the level, the way how they wanted to show you the living part of Midgard is incredibly amazing.
All right. So at the end of every episode, we try to with a guest. If you have anything to share or say to the world, or still some questions, this would be your spotlight now. If you want to.
Well, what I would say is probably, I don't know. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much also for the people that listen to us, and I don't know. That's pretty much it. I'm super grateful for the opportunity and for the people to listen to us.
Dude, we're so glad that you're here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I just wanted to make a little promo for Roberto and reading his Twitter name so people can follow him.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
It's at the TDEX on Twitter if you want to follow what Roberto is posting. I think it's fascinating, so it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, leave a follow, guys. Thank you for coming on the show. It was really chill and amazing to hang out with you, and so relaxed. And we talked about a lot of fun and passionate subjects we all three of us like. And you're welcome here anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, man.
And our classic bye.
Bye.